Yes, unfortunately, we are going to be discussing the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad in this video. I know, I'm sorry. But I promise that this video is actually going to go very in-depth, more than just the ad, because guess what? It is that deep, actually. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best, okay? Hi, my name is Alia, and I'm a college student who makes YouTube videos for fun. Today's topic is not super fun though, because we're discussing how white supremacy has become cool again and what Sydney Sweeney's jeans say about the current perception of white supremacist ideologies in society today. I'm going to be dividing this video into 4 chapters, so settle in, get out your notebooks, please subscribe, and let's get into it. In this section, I wanted to trace the journey that white supremacy has taken, particularly in the United States, to provide some context for where we are today. Obviously, the United States history of racism is layered and long, and it's pretty much in the fabric of how this country was founded, so I decided to focus my timeline on one actor that I think can represent the movement, and I'm sure you can all guess what I'm talking about, the KKK. I don't know how YouTube's demonetization policy works, but I only have like 30 subscribers, so luckily we don't have to worry about that. According to Wikipedia, quote, the modern KKK is not one organization, rather it's composed of small independent chapters across the United States. I kind of figured that I would just talk about the modern history of the KKK because I don't think the founding and origins are very relevant right now. So in the 21st century, the Klan's numbers were declining steadily, which has been attributed to their inability to use the internet to promote their ideologies, and also just a decrease in the number of young racist people willing to join their group, which is good. We love to hear that. In 2015, however, the number of chapters grew from 72 to 190, which is a crazy increase of more than 100 chapters. Not sure what was happening around 2015, 2016 that could have promoted this ideology. I don't know. In 2017, the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is an organization that tracks extremist groups, estimated that there were at least 29 separate rival Klan groups currently active in the United States that were all kind of fighting for members and attention, I guess. In 2019, there was a newspaper in Alabama, this weekly newspaper called the Democrat Report, and it contained an editorial titled Klan Needs to Write Again. Basically, the publisher slash editor slash owner of this paper decided to write an editorial about how the Klan needs to return to staging night rides, and the writer also said in an interview that he believed that DC could be cleaned out by way of lynchings. So, wonder where he is now. So, while in normal, grass-touching society, we mostly think of this type of ideology to be lost to the sands of time, if you will, there are still pockets of society where this ideology is growing, particularly corners of the internet. Social media and online sites have formed echo chambers where people can continue to share their extremist beliefs, bouncing them off of one another and not having anyone to push back and say like, hey, this is insane. And we're going to touch more on these echo chambers later in the video as well. Overall, in the current day, it is not socially acceptable to be an out and proud white supremacist. Or is it? I think in these last 5 years, we've had such an insane, like almost like sinusoidal wave function of perceptions toward racism. We all remember the social justice movement of 2020 where everyone had to be an activist, even the teenage white TikTokers who only did it because they didn't want to get canceled. They all had to be in support of Black Lives Matter. From a personal perspective, this is when I remember kind of the peak of racism being uncool, if you will. Was it performative? In some cases, sure, but the activism was there. It's worth asking the question why now influencers and celebrities don't feel the need to even pretend to not be racist. So now with a society that is slowly or quickly regressing and a certain man up in office, we are circling around to the bottom of the wave and it's becoming way more normalized to promote these ideologies in pop culture, which leads me into our next section. It's time to talk about the jeans ad. I'm sorry. You guys do get to hear my Sydney Sweeney impression twice, so have fun. In July of 2020, Sydney Sweeney, an American celebrity, debuted her ad with American Eagle, the clothing company. If you somehow haven't seen this ad or at least seen the discourse around it, you genuinely deserve an award for how offline you are. The ad features Sydney Sweeney admiring herself wearing American Eagle jeans, saying something to the effect of, "Wow, these jeans look so good on me," in a seductive voice. Before the narrator then intones, "Sydney Sweeney has great jeans." That's exactly what they both sound like, because I am an amazing impressionist. It's very important to note that Sydney Sweeney is a white, blonde, blue-eyed woman, the kind of woman that a certain someone with a mustache would have really loved. So it's really not hard to understand if you are a person with a brain why the general populace didn't react well to this ad. If you're thinking, oh, but they didn't really make that joke, it was just kind of a cheeky little nod to that kind of pun. No. No, a version of this ad specifically makes the jeans comparison, with Sydney explaining, "Genes are passed down from parent to offspring, often determining traits such as hair color, personality, and even eye color." That was pretty good. I think that was pretty good, especially because I haven't heard the ad since it came out. I haven't gone back and looked at it, so I feel like that was pretty good from memory. Basically, this ad is implying that Sydney Sweeney's genetics are really good, and obviously there are a million things you can say to defend this ad. You could say, it's not that bad, it's just a joke, you know, she didn't say your jeans are bad, she just said her jeans are good. All of that could be true. However, it doesn't change the fact that in a time when people of color are being increasingly dehumanized by not just like extremist groups, but genuinely just like the president of the United States, it is extremely damaging, out of touch, and just awful to put out an ad with any of these messages, even as a joke. Me personally, I don't think this ad would have been funny in any political climate in this country, and honestly just like in the world. I don't think we as a society have come far enough to be able to joke about this. Like, there are people out there who obviously we're going to talk about still believe in this racist ideology. It's just still very prevalent in society. Like, you guys have all seen the jokes where people are like, if I see that my pilot is not white, I'm going to leave the plane because they're obviously a DEI hire. DEI jokes, like that kind of thing, it's purely just racism in action. You're literally overtly saying that you don't think a person of color can be as capable as a white person. So at a time when these ideologies are still very prevalent, I don't think this ad is funny. I don't think we're ready for a joke like this. Now, is Sydney Sweeney a Nazi? Like, no, probably not. Even before the jeans ad, she did have some questionable politics. She was seen at a party with her relatives who were wearing MAGA hats, even though she herself was not wearing one, and people also discovered her to be a registered Republican. She did get a lot of flack for this, but these could all be technically explained away. It's not her fault that she has MAGA family members. We all have family that we maybe don't agree with, but we still have to hang out with. In my opinion, more than her politics, more than her jeans ad, which was still awful, it was the response to the jeans ad that made this completely unforgivable to me. In a recent interview, Sydney Sweeney was asked by who is, in my opinion, the most annoying interviewer in the world. Sorry, I hate this interviewer lady. Let me just rant for a second. She's another white woman. She just has no balls. She's not pushing back at all on Sydney's responses, asking the worst questions, and her demeanor, like, she was just like grinning and smiling the whole time, like, yeah, you did do a jeans ad. Girl, be an interviewer. Like, oh my god. I can't even bring myself to rewatch this interview, honestly, because of the amount that it pisses me off, but I'll summarize for you. Sydney was asked how she felt about the response to the ad. She responds by looking just completely disinterested, saying something like, I did a jeans ad, I love jeans, all I wear are jeans. She's not even wearing jeans in the interview, mind you. She also doesn't apologize or clarify anything about the ad. She doesn't denounce the ideology behind it, and she says that she wants to let the art speak for itself, and that if there's an issue that she cares about, she will speak about it. Basically saying point blank that she doesn't care about the overtones of white supremacy in her ad, and she doesn't think that it's an issue worth speaking about. Also, she responded to Trump's tweet about her ad, saying that it was surreal that the president spoke about. This video is more about the white supremacy aspect of the ad, which is definitely intrinsically linked to Trump's presidency, but if I had to think about Trump for another second, I am gonna throw myself out the window, and this is my channel, so I don't want to talk about him anymore. So what's the problem here? Sydney was given the perfect chance to say that she didn't agree with those themes. She was handed a cop-out on a silver platter. She could have easily said, we thought it would be funny, but I see now that it was harmful. She could have even said, I don't think it was that bad, but I'm sorry for hurting many people. Basically doing the, I'm sorry that you're offended, which would have been bad, and it wouldn't have been a sufficient response in my opinion, but it would have been better than standing by your ad and putting your foot down. Her response just made it really clear that she doesn't care what she's being associated with as long as it gets her clout and money. As a side note, Sydney's PR team needs to be fired, because why is that woman doing borderline pornographic ads for men's soap and then this weird white supremacist ad, and then turning around and doing a movie about a lesbian boxer? Like, the people that support Sydney are not going to watch that movie, and the people who want to watch that movie hate Sydney Sweeney. So of course the movie is flopping. Let's put our brain cells together. Anyway, this ad is just one part of the growing wave of pro-white supremacy ideology that is becoming normalized in this country. Of course, we see this all the time with anti-immigrant rhetoric, which obviously only ever applies to black and brown immigrants and never the white ones. Also, earlier this year, there was a case of this law student writing a paper that had white nationalist overtones and getting an award for it. I don't know if anyone heard about this, because I never saw anyone talking about it, honestly. Basically, a law student at the University of Florida took a seminar on originalism, which is the legal theory that seeks to interpret the Constitution based on its meaning when it was adopted, and it's preferred by many conservatives for obvious reasons. In his capstone paper for the class, the student argued that the framers had intended for the phrase "we the people" to refer exclusively to white people. From there, he argued for the removal of voting right protections for non-whites and for the issuance of shoot-to-kill orders against criminal infiltrators at the border. He warned that white people can't be expected to meekly swallow this demographic assault on their sovereignty. This man, because he's 29 years old, was given the book award, which designated him as the best student in the class, and the teacher for this class was a federal judge. Hey guys, it's editing me from a few days later. Actually, the day that I recorded this video, I was scrolling on TikTok afterwards, and I saw that Walmart has put out these weird shirts. It's like a rock, paper, scissors graphic, but it's very clearly implying some sort of racial conflict. And there's two versions, and one is white and the white one's more expensive, and it's just so weird. And honestly, I can't tell what it means, because there's like two versions. So I feel like it's almost like they're asking you to like pick a team, which is so crazy. I feel like this is just another example of a company trying to be contrarian and create something that they know is going to make people mad or make people be like, what is this? And it's getting sales. So I just wanted to put that out there of another example of something that's happening, and also to show that what American Eagle did is working and other companies are trying to create it. So just putting that out there. All of this to say that 2025 is a great year to be a white supremacist. I want to make one thing very clear here. This is not a joke. To you, a normal person, Sydney Sweeney's ad and all the other red flag issues that I've mentioned might not seem like that big of a deal. Sure, the ad was in bad taste, sure that student was crazy insane, but no one really thinks that, right? Wrong. I recently analyzed a paper for one of my classes on how white supremacists reacted to getting the results of genetic testing. The findings of this paper are very interesting, and I'll have all my sources linked below if you want to check them out. But for the purposes of this video, I want to focus on the behavior of the people studied in the paper and how that shows how white supremacists behave. Genetic testing is a form of citizen science where, the average person can get involved with some sort of scientific research or discovery. And this paper really highlights the dangers that can appear when people with minimal scientific background and harmful viewpoints are given access to information that is really left open to interpretation. So when a user received results that showed that they weren't 100% white, if they were more confident and defensive about their test results, the other white nationalists tended to be very demeaning and to isolate them and say that they weren't allowed to be part of this community anymore. This paper analyzed interactions on a white supremacist forum that they studied basically, and one of these exchanges really stood out to me. I'll put it on the screen. It was an exchange between two people, and it happened at the end of 2015 / like the first day of 2016 actually. The first person says that they got their DNA results and learned that they're 61% European. They're very proud of their white race, European roots, and want to do anything to protect their white race and their European roots, even though they know that other people are more white than them. And then they get a response from one of their fellow white supremacists saying, quote, "I've prepared you a drink. It's 61% pure water, the rest is potassium cyanide. I assume you have no objections to drinking it. Cyanide isn't water, and you are not white." Damn, like, okay. Obviously, I don't feel bad for either of these people. I don't feel bad for the first person, but I do think it's very, very interesting and telling how quickly this group can turn on themselves. This person is willing to denounce, 39% of their heritage just to keep being a part of this community, and they're not okay with that. If you're not 100% white, we don't fucking want you. That's how they see themselves. It's also just so sad to think about that these people have so much hate in their heart that they can't even just conceptualize being normal to people who are not white. Like, girl, what? Also, I think it's very interesting that the first user, upon receiving their test results, their first reaction was to cling on to the whiteness instead of saying, maybe the fact that I'm more non-white than I thought shows that race is not that important as I thought it was, and that maybe I should stop being a white supremacist. Instead, their brain goes directly to, I'm still a white supremacist, how can I justify my identity as that? The article also mentioned how Black people have dealt with systemic racism in a way that allows them to understand and interpret these results in a less harmful way. Because white people, and specifically white nationalists, don't have to deal with systemic injustice, they're not used to feeling confused in their identity, and therefore result to very racist claims and become very defensive about their results. Seriously, if this at all sounds interesting to you, you should totally read this paper. I just wanted to mention another interaction I thought was so funny on this thing. It's not that funny, but basically another white supremacist got a result. They didn't like the result, and so they said that it doesn't matter because genetic testing is just a bioweapon created by the Jews in order to wipe out all white people, which is like, sure, whatever you say, buddy. In this section, I also want to talk about how people tend to excuse white nationalist violence so much easier than other types of violence. A very relevant example, I think, is the current mayor-elect of New York City. I don't have a favorite politician, but if I did, it would be Zoran Mamdani. If you paid any attention to this election, you would have seen that the people against Mamdani relied very heavily on his race as a point of contention, accusing him of supporting the terrorists on 9/11. Mamdani, who was 10 years old when the 9/11 attacks occurred, received so much flack for this event, just because he's also Muslim, whereas white people never get accused of being in support of slavery or white nationalist violence because of their race. Obviously, I'm not saying that they should be held accountable for those things. I'm trying to make a point about the discrepancies of how justice is doled out depending on people's race. From a research standpoint, when you're looking at the coverage of terrorist attacks in the late 2000s and early 10s, it's found that attacks by Muslim perpetrators receive on average 357% more coverage than other attacks. The language surrounding attacks also differs. An article covering a Muslim perpetrator is 5 times more likely to reference terrorism compared with an article discussing a non-Muslim perpetrator. And if you're thinking, well, this is because Muslim perpetrators do more crime, you'd be wrong. White supremacists have been a leading source of terrorist violence in the United States for the last decade, responsible for 40 plots or attacks from 2011 to 2020. And in those 10 years, white supremacists committed 77% of all right-wing extremist-related murders and 58% of the total extremist-related murders, including left-wing and domestic Islamist-related killings. These statistics basically show that Muslim perpetrators do less crime than white supremacist terrorists and yet are overrepresented in the media. When you think about people who are fear-mongering for Mamdani being elected, you never see the same with white politicians. You never see people being like, oh, that white man is in office, he might do another white nationalist act of violence. But you do see people saying that Mamdani is going to do 9/11 again. So, something to think about. Oftentimes, videos like this that discuss heavy content can leave us feeling a sense of hopelessness and defeat. I know that that's how I felt once I finished researching this entire video. The fact that people with this type of ideology still exist, or even exist in the first place, is just so disheartening to me. But I wanted to end this video with what we can do to combat this disturbing trend. We as consumers have so much power, and we have to remain firm in our beliefs. We have to refuse to even suggest that these ideas can be normalized in society. Boycott American Eagle if you're not already. Honestly, there are a ton of brands you should be boycotting, and honestly, I think we should all just be buying less, but that's another video, I think. Let brands know that this is not okay to joke about, that we don't find it funny, and we don't think they should be rewarded for tangling themselves with these controversial topics. A policy report that I read titled Identifying and Exploiting the Weaknesses of the White Supremacist Movement said that one of the most important changes is one of the easiest, ending the sense that white supremacy is tolerated from on high. This article from 2021 discussed how the 2016 Trump administration failed to do that. The Trump administration sent ambiguous signals toward the broader movement, at times seemingly reluctantly condemning it, but also defending causes that it champions. It also has rhetorically labeled enemies of the movement, such as Black Lives Matter and Antifa, as terrorist organizations, creating confusion and false equivalence. Obviously, if the 2016 administration was doing all of this, you can imagine how much worse it is now in today's day and age. Constant pressure on groups in the movement matters, especially to ensure that technology and financial companies are deplatforming them. Public embarrassment is often more effective than law enforcement pressure in getting companies to deplatform white supremacists. Basically, this is all to say, keep embarrassing them. Tell everyone that Sydney Sweeney sucks. Let her movie flop. We're doing a great job with this, by the way. But also, be aware. See how tides are turning, and don't let anyone tell you that it's not that deep. Jokes aside, genuinely please use critical thinking when you're consuming advertisements like this. Please be aware of what messages are being fed to you and think about why companies might be doing this. We shouldn't let them think that this is okay for them to play with. So I also just wanted to say, remember that this shit is not normal. We are all human beings. We're all amazing and beautiful and special, and believing that you're better just because your skin is lighter is literally so stupid, and it just shows that you have less intelligence than a kindergartner. In the most cheesy, corny Disney Channel way possible, our differences are what make us amazing and unique, and still being obsessed with considering yourself better than everyone else because of your race is dumb. And even worse, it's kind of lame. Like, really lame. Like, get a job and like touch some grass and get laid, lame. Seriously. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I have filmed this video 3 times. This is my 3rd time filming this fuck-ass video. It's just, it sucks to have YouTuber problems when you're not even a YouTuber. Like, girl, what? I hope this video was informative and helped you think a little deeper on this topic. If you have any thoughts, please feel free to leave them down below. Be respectful. If you enjoyed this video or me, please like and subscribe. I'm a new channel, so every bit of support helps, and I'm just a college student doing this for fun, so every bit of support tells me that I should keep on doing this. You should definitely follow because I have a ton of ideas for future videos. I'm also writing a book which you can learn about on my Instagram, and you should follow all my other socials, of course. And that's all for today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep thinking.